Have you ever wondered how you want to live after 65? I don't just mean how to fill your days, but how to ensure that each day holds purpose, peace, and fulfillment. The truth is, reaching this stage of life doesn't mean your best moments are behind you. Not at all. On the contrary, this can be the most liberating and transformative time, as long as you take control of your path forward. Today, I'm going to share 5 powerful things you can do after 65 to live comfortably, happily, and with complete fulfillment. And no, these aren't the usual tips. These steps will help you not only live better physically, but also emotionally and spiritually with renewed clarity. Because as the Stoics taught, it's not about what happens to you, but how you choose to experience it. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. My name is Gabriel, and here we talk about how to apply the wisdom of the great philosophers to our daily lives, especially in this stage when so many of us are looking for deeper answers. Stay with me until the end, because today we'll explore lessons that could completely change the way you experience this stage of life. Let's get started. Number 1, redefine your purpose, not your routine. Often, when we reach 65, we're faced with the idea that our purpose in life is behind us, as if we've fulfilled our role, and now all that's left is to enjoy the rest. But what happens when, after retiring or finishing certain responsibilities, you feel a sense of emptiness, a lack of direction? Many people are told that the next step is to simply stay busy, but is that enough for a truly fulfilling life? This is where Stoicism offers a different answer. Seneca said, "It's not that we have little time, but that we waste a great deal of it." This is an invitation not to waste a single day, to understand that even at this stage of life, purpose is still essential. True rest isn't in the absence of activity, but in finding a new way to contribute and feel that your life has value. Redefining your purpose doesn't mean inventing an extraordinary mission or seeking a reason to live as if you were young again. Rather, it's about discovering the roles you can now assume that bring satisfaction and meaning. It's not just about filling your time, but about using your accumulated experience to do something meaningful. This might mean engaging in community activities, mentoring, creative projects, or something as simple yet powerful as improving the lives of those around you. Maybe you've always had a passion you set aside, or perhaps now is the time to reinvent yourself and explore something new. Take Juan, for example, a man who felt lost after retiring. For over 40 years, he worked as a lawyer, but upon leaving his career, he realized he didn't know how to fill his time meaningfully. He tried sticking to his usual routine, but something was missing. One day, almost by accident, he began volunteering with a local organization teaching at-risk youth peaceful conflict resolution. What started as a small commitment became a new passion. Juan found a way to share his knowledge and experience, and his life regained a clear sense of purpose. This is a powerful example of how, by redefining our purpose, we can create a new phase of life that's not just full of activity, but also full of meaning. Marcus Aurelius reminds us of the importance of action, even in the smallest details of daily life. Choose not to be passive. Act with purpose. This lesson shows us that regardless of age, we can always choose how to live. We can always choose how to act. But don't mistake this for simply keeping busy. What you're seeking now isn't a life filled with meaningless activities, but a life aligned with what truly matters to you. Ask yourself, what motivates me at this moment in my life? Where can I apply my experience, my time, and my wisdom to make an impact, even if it's a small one? The key here is to find something that gives you energy, not something that drains it, and that means letting go of the idea that your routine should be the same as when you were working or had other responsibilities. By redefining your purpose, you open the door to new opportunities, new projects, and new ways to be useful and feel whole. It's not about holding on to what no longer serves you, but transforming it into something that drives you forward. Don't underestimate the power of a renewed purpose. Remember, as Epictetus said, it's not events that disturb us, but our interpretation of those events. If you interpret this stage of life as a time to discover a new purpose, you're creating a path full of possibilities, not an end. Number 2, let go of the past, not the lessons. As we grow older, the past can become a dangerous place to dwell. The decisions you made, the mistakes, the missed opportunities, all of these can weigh heavily, clouding your present. Many people feel trapped by what could have been, as if their best moments are behind them. However, there's a vast difference between remembering and reliving, and this is where we can learn to truly let go. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, once said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." This insight is crucial when it comes to letting go of the past. We cannot change what has already happened, but we can change our attitude toward it. Instead of carrying the weight of what we didn't get right, we can look back and draw from the lessons that have brought us to this point. What matters is not what happened, but what you did with those experiences. Stoicism teaches us something similar. Everything we live through holds value in how we use it to become wiser and more resilient. Epictetus said that it's not the event itself that affects us, but the judgment we make about that event. If you see your past as a chain that binds you, then you'll remain a prisoner to those memories. But if you see it as a book full of lessons, you set yourself free because you recognize that those moments shaped you, but they do not define you. One of the biggest mistakes we can make after 65 is getting trapped in what wasn't achieved. The promotion that never came, the relationship that didn't work out, the dream that went unfulfilled. But what we often forget is that the past is only part of your story, not the whole story. How do you want the rest to be told? Because what the past didn't give you, the present offers. The opportunity to write a new chapter. Letting go of the past doesn't mean forgetting or denying it. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about accepting what happened and using it to keep growing. It's understanding that every challenge, every difficult moment prepared you for right now. And if there's something you can do with those memories, it's to let them become a quiet guide, not an emotional burden. A practical example is Anna, a woman who, at 70, couldn't stop thinking about all the things she hadn't done. She had devoted her life to work and had never found the time to travel, something she'd always dreamed of. Every time she saw pictures of people in exotic places, she felt deep regret. However, instead of staying stuck in that regret, Anna decided there was still time. She began with small trips, exploring nearby cities and savoring each new experience, without the shadow of, "I should have done this earlier," hanging over her. Anna freed herself from the weight of the past, not by ignoring it, but by realizing that she could still create valuable moments in her present. The lesson here is clear. The past is not your enemy. Let it be a teacher, but don't make it your jailer. If you keep looking back in regret, you'll miss what's right in front of you. As the French philosopher Henri Bergson said, "The past is made of memories, but life is built with what you do with them. What you have today is what truly matters." So, how do you apply this in your daily life? First, acknowledge the moments from the past that still weigh on you. Write them down, reflect on them. Then ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Once you have the lesson, let go of the judgment. The second step is to redirect your focus to what you can do now. It doesn't matter if it's big or small. What matters is being present for what's happening today, not for what's already happened. The past doesn't define your future. It simply helps you face it with greater wisdom. Always remember, free yourself from the weight, but keep the lessons. Number 3, don't just save money, save emotional energy. Throughout life, we're taught to save money for the future. We're told that building financial resources is essential for a peaceful old age, and there's a lot of truth to that. However, something we're rarely taught is that we should also be saving emotional energy. As we age, what we need most isn't just financial stability, but mental peace and emotional balance. Emotional energy is that internal resource that lets us face daily challenges without feeling drained, overwhelmed, or overtaken by stress. It's the fuel that maintains our calm and allows us to enjoy life. How are you managing this valuable resource? Often, without realizing it, we waste it on unnecessary worries, pointless arguments, or toxic relationships that take more than they give. Psychologist and writer William James once said, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another." This is a powerful reminder that we have more control over our emotional energy than we might think. Just as you decide where to spend your money, you can decide where to spend your emotional energy. The important question is, where are you investing your emotional well-being? At 65 and beyond, it's crucial to start doing an emotional audit. This means reviewing your relationships, your daily activities, even your own thoughts. Ask yourself, what situations exhaust me needlessly? Which people leave me feeling drained? What thoughts are consuming me? And most importantly, what can I do to protect my emotional well-being? A practical way to conserve emotional energy is by learning to say no. At this age, many people feel internal pressure to keep pleasing others, especially children, friends, or family. But saying yes to everything not only depletes your energy, but also prevents you from caring for yourself. Knowing when and how to set boundaries is one of the most valuable skills you can develop at this stage in life. Saying no isn't selfish, it's self-love. Another key aspect is avoiding what psychologist Daniel Goleman calls emotional hijacking. This happens when we allow negative emotions to take full control of our minds, leading us to act impulsively or destructively. Maybe you feel frustrated with someone close to you, or there's an unresolved conflict keeping you unsettled. Instead of letting these emotions hijack you, it's crucial to learn to manage them calmly. Take a deep breath, give yourself a moment before reacting, and consciously choose how you'll respond. This simple pause can save you an enormous amount of emotional energy. An example of this is Clara, a 69-year-old woman who constantly felt drained. After reflecting, she realized she was spending her emotional energy trying to solve her adult children's problems, who often came to her for help with their own lives. Wanting to support them, Clara always said yes, not realizing that this left her emotionally exhausted. After some thought, she decided to start setting boundaries. It wasn't about refusing to help her children, but doing so in a more balanced way. As she did this, she felt a relief she hadn't experienced in years. Her relationship with her children improved, and her emotional energy increased as well. So, saving emotional energy doesn't mean isolating yourself or ignoring the people you love. It's about being selective with where you focus your attention, with the commitments you accept, and above all, with the thoughts you allow into your mind. Just like a savings fund, the more you reserve your emotional energy for what truly matters, the more capacity you'll have to face difficult moments with clarity and strength. Remember Lao Tzu's words, "He who controls others is strong, he who controls himself is powerful." True strength at this stage in life isn't in doing more, but in taking better care of yourself. Saving your emotional energy is an investment in your long-term well-being. If you're enjoying this video so far and feel you're discovering new ways to live comfortably and happily after 65, drawing from Stoic wisdom and more, I invite you to subscribe and hit the like button. This helps me continue creating valuable content for those who seek a full, purposeful, and balanced life in this stage. Stay tuned until the end, because lesson number 5 could completely change the way you view vulnerability and independence in old age. Let's continue. Number 4, optimize your physical life, not your age. As we age, it's easy to fall into the trap of measuring our lives based on our age. Society tells us that once we reach 65, certain things are no longer possible, and that our physical limitations somehow reflect our capacity to enjoy life. But in reality, the key isn't to focus on age, but on optimizing your environment and physical health so you can keep living fully and comfortably. At this stage, the goal isn't to resist the passage of time, but to adjust your life so that the small inconveniences of the body don't become obstacles to your independence and well-being. Marcus Aurelius said, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, in that it stands ready for what may come and is prepared to grapple with circumstances." Adapting your environment to your current needs is a way of standing firm, of being prepared to enjoy each day without letting physical limitations rule your life. Optimizing your physical life isn't only about exercise, though that's essential. It also involves looking at your environment, your home, your daily routine, and making small changes that make life easier and more enjoyable. Ask yourself, is my home a place that supports my life or complicates it? Maybe that old rug in the hallway is now a fall risk, or the furniture is too high or too low for you. Small modifications like installing railings on stairs, improving lighting, or rearranging your space can make a big difference in how you feel every day. A practical example is Roberto, a 72-year-old man who refused to make changes to his home, thinking that accepting modifications was admitting he was getting old. He stayed physically active, but often felt frustrated because his home was no longer as functional as it once was. One day, his daughter suggested reorganizing the kitchen so everything would be more accessible, allowing him to keep cooking, one of his greatest passions, without strain. After making these small adjustments, Roberto realized that optimizing his environment wasn't a sign of weakness, but a way to regain control and continue enjoying his independence. It's important to remember that physical optimization isn't only external. Your physical health is also essential in this process. Often, after a certain age, some people stop actively caring for their bodies, thinking it no longer matters. But taking care of your health never stops being important. As Hippocrates said, life is short, the art long, opportunity fleeting, experience deceptive, and judgment difficult. This reminds us that while time may be limited, the opportunities to optimize our health are still here. What you eat, how much you move, and how you manage your medical health are all choices still fully within your control. Now more than ever, every small action counts. Taking daily walks, practicing stretching, eating a balanced diet, or simply checking in regularly with your doctors can profoundly impact your well-being and ability to enjoy the present. Physical self-care is a form of freedom. This isn't about trying to turn back the clock, but about adapting smartly to where you are now. Technology and medicine offer options that didn't exist decades ago, from devices that assist with mobility to preventative treatments that can improve your quality of life. Take advantage of these tools to optimize your health and environment, and you'll find that your independence and well-being grow. So, what's the real lesson here? Don't focus on the years you've lived, focus on making each of those years count to the fullest. Adjust your life, don't resist change. The result is a more fluid day-to-day where you aren't battling against your surroundings, but making them work for you. As Confucius once said, life is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated. Simplify your physical life, and both your mind and spirit will thank you. Number 5, accept vulnerability, not dependence. Reaching 65 or beyond is a stage when many begin to feel more vulnerable, both physically and emotionally. This vulnerability, far from being a negative thing, is a natural part of life that can teach us a great deal. However, there's a big difference between accepting our vulnerability and falling into the trap of complete dependence. Vulnerability is a human state, one that should be embraced with dignity. It reminds us that, despite all our experience and wisdom, we are finite beings with needs and limitations. But here's the key. Accepting your vulnerability doesn't mean relinquishing control over your life or becoming a burden on others. It's about understanding that even if you need support, you can still maintain emotional independence and, as much as possible, physical independence. French philosopher Simone de Beauvoir once said, "The problem is not dying, but living a life without meaning." This quote holds special relevance in old age, when vulnerability is often mistaken for incapacity. Recognizing that your body or mind isn't the same as it was 20 or 30 years ago is an act of wisdom, but allowing that reality to consume you, leading to complete dependence on others, is something to be avoided. Total emotional or physical dependence can steal the joy of knowing you still have something to offer, that your life is still yours, and that you can make important decisions about your well-being. Accepting vulnerability means being able to ask for help when you need it, without relinquishing total control of your life. In other words, you can accept support from others, but it's essential that you remain the leader of your own journey. Consider Laura, a 71-year-old woman who, after surgery, found herself relying more on her family for daily activities. Initially, this made her feel insecure, and she feared she might never regain her independence. However, rather than letting her vulnerability become an excuse to surrender control, Laura accepted her temporary situation and began working on her recovery. Little by little, she regained her physical strength and, importantly, her self-confidence. She didn't let that experience define her. She recognized that vulnerability is part of the process, but total dependence was not the answer. This is where another aspect of Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus reminds us that what happens to us is not as important as how we respond to it. By accepting our vulnerability, we choose not to be overwhelmed by it. Instead of viewing vulnerability as a weakness, we can see it as an opportunity to practice patience, humility, and resilience. Accepting your vulnerability also means surrounding yourself with people and systems that support you without losing your autonomy. Building balanced relationships, where there's a mutual exchange of help and respect, is essential. This might mean relying on friends, neighbors, or professionals who can assist you at specific times without making you completely dependent on them. It's not about shutting yourself off from receiving help, but about creating support networks without losing your sense of self. In this sense, one of the most practical steps you can take is to anticipate your needs before they become urgent. If you accept that there are certain things you can't do as easily as before, make proactive decisions to maintain your independence. This might mean adapting your home, hiring assistance for certain tasks, or even asking a family member or friend for help with specific matters, but without letting this turn into constant dependence. Vulnerability is part of the human experience, and by accepting it, we can live with more authenticity and less fear. But becoming completely dependent on others, especially in areas where we can still maintain control, deprives us of the sense of purpose and dignity that everyone seeks in old age. So, what's the lesson here? Don't be afraid to acknowledge your limitations, but strive to maintain your independence as much as possible. Vulnerability is not a sentence to dependence. It's an invitation to live with more compassion for yourself, to ask for help when you need it, and to find new ways to be strong. As psychologist Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." You choose how to respond to challenges, and that choice defines your life, not the external circumstances. Accepting your vulnerability frees you, but it doesn't bind you. It's the first step toward renewed independence, grounded in a deep understanding of who you are and in the peace that comes from knowing you can still be the author of your own destiny. Life after 65 isn't a time to give up or resign yourself. It's an opportunity to reinvent yourself, to live with more intention, more wisdom, and more serenity. Today's lessons remind us that while the body may change, our ability to find purpose, optimize our lives, and embrace our vulnerability remains intact. Every decision you make now can shape how much you enjoy and make the most of the years ahead. True comfort and happiness don't depend solely on circumstances, but on how you choose to live them. This path isn't just about surviving, it's about living with dignity, strength, and peace. Remember, as the Stoics taught, we can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. So take the reins of your life, keep learning, and above all, keep believing there is much more to discover and give. My name is Gabriel, and if it's your first time on the channel, I invite you to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the topics we'll explore together. If you made it this far, it means you take your well-being and personal growth seriously, and that deserves recognition. To know who's truly committed and stayed until the end, comment with the phrase, "I live like a Stoic," and tell me where you're listening from. I'd love to read your comments and know who's with me on this journey of self-discovery. And don't leave without sharing this video with your loved ones. There might be someone close to you who needs to hear these words today and gain a fresh perspective. Sometimes a small piece of advice can make a big difference. See you in the next video.